Welcome to The Bright Side of 50, the podcast that celebrates life, wisdom, and the vibrant journey that can be ours when we embrace the second half of life. I am your host, Carla Palmer. Together, we will explore the stories, memorable experiences, and the teachable moments that make life after 50 truly incredible. Now, let's get into today's topic, shall we? Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Bright Side of 50 with Carla Palmer. I am so glad that you're here with me today. As always, I thank you for your listenership or viewership, whether you are listening on Spotify or you're watching through YouTube. Thank you so much for being here. Today, guys, we've got a great guest. I got my girl here, Miss Erica Alexis, the Lady Builder. She is the owner, CEO of Bridgeline Development and Construction. Hi, Erica.
Hi, Carla.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, my pleasure. I've been waiting for this.
I know. Very important conversation. So, guys, today we are talking about building bridges, successful female leadership in a male-dominated industry. So I want to properly introduce Erica. Erica, the Lady Builder Alexis, is a B-licensed general contractor, UCLA graduate, and commercial real estate developer who has built and managed over 30 million on design build projects. Projects range from the LAX airport police facility, underground infrastructure for the LAX automated people mover. Ooh, I know that. That's cool. Clipper Stadium, to tenant improvements for clients such as Simply Wholesome, Yogurtland, and New Body Products, multifamily renovations, newly constructed mixed-use developments, and residential townhomes, ADUs, and additions. Did I say all of that right? That's a lot.
Yeah.
That is a lot.
You said it well.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Bridgeline Construction is a globally established design, develop, build company based in Los Angeles, California. The company collaborates with property owners from conception to completion, excelling in commercial builds, new construction, and full house remodels. Erica's credo in becoming a true partner to the end client by providing whatever is needed to get the job done from finance to completion is what has taken the construction industry by storm. All right, clearly you're a force. Clearly you are a force, Erica.
Oh, thank you.
This is amazing. So, okay, let's start out by telling everybody how you got into the construction industry.
How I got into the construction industry was very simple. I quit a job. It kind of relates to this topic today. I had a female boss who came across a little too strong and aggressive, and her leadership style. I was ranking top in my company, and she came in, and it was, I guess you could say, two alpha women. So I just quit my job with no plan. I just couldn't take it. And I was sitting on my couch, and I literally heard hammers outside. And I said, I've always wanted to be in construction. My grandfather was in construction. His story inspired me. Let me just go give it a shot while I have this downtime. Fast forward, it turned into a whole career. My first, general contractor that I worked for free for about 2 weeks. That didn't last long. I busted my tail. So I did some labor in the field, ended up loving it, went into project management shortly after that, and then eventually got my general contractor's license.
Oh, wow. So you're following in your grandfather's footsteps.
That is correct. Actually, my great grandfather started it. He was a master builder. I would like to say he had 7 sons, and each son had a different trade. And my grandfather happened to carry the cement mason trade, but he expanded out of that, through his lifetime. And he eventually went from paving driveways to building apartment buildings, recreational centers. And he all did this with the 8th grade education. So that inspired me. If I'm college educated, like you said, go Bruins, UCLA. I'm expected to do much more. I consider myself the third leg of the race.
Mm-hmm. So you have this company, Bridgeline. How big is your
Yes.
team?
My core team, I have a core 5, And then we subcontract for our commercial jobs. My core five is in the field, and then of course I have my support and office staff that ranges from 3 to 4 employees.
Hmm.
So
And how many? What's the makeup as far as women and men?
my women, they hold me down. I have a woman marketing manager, I have a woman operations manager, a woman accounting, woman assistant project manager, and a woman CFO advisor. And I am in training of one woman to become a superintendent. She's on a great journey, and I have also a mentee who's running my operations right now of becoming a project manager. And then the rest consists of men.
Okay. Wow. I love it. That sounds really diverse. So does it do you feel like it's challenging to be a woman in this male dominated industry? It's probably a silly question because you look around at construction sites everywhere and it's full of men. So there have to be some challenges that you face.
Actually, I feel a particular way about this. So I don't really feel like there are challenges, and I don't really feel like there's a difference with male and female leadership or male and females being in the industry. I think it's how we are as people and how we operate, more so than it's because I'm a woman that dot dot dot. So I can understand how some women feel that way, but I think in my experience, like you said, my 25 million plus projects, of course, that was with one of the largest electrical contractors in the world, actually, and the leading solar contractor. It was predominantly male. I think I was maybe one of five and the only one of color in that office, and with that, I learned, I joined a lot of women organizations, and I learned that how we assert ourselves is how we get treated. And I think if we exude self respect, we attract that. So I don't really see more common challenges than just business challenges versus gender role challenges in the construction industry.
Hmm. I love the way you put that. And in essence, it really is about relationships. It's
Yes.
it's about relationships and knowing the importance of respecting other people, right? Whether they're men or women, it really boils down to respect in this relationship. So let's just say, for example, you have something that you need to say to one of your team members who is a male, right? You have to give some feedback.
Hmm.
Um, what does that look like if they're not performing to your standards?
All right. So let's go back to your question, actually. The challenge is changing my approach. Since you brought that topic up, there is a challenge. And I think there's something to be said about tone. I think that's a very important element to leadership, right? Woman or man, but essentially women, because there is this kind of not hierarchy, but level of commands kind of thing. And I think that tone is essentially very important. So what I do is I make sure I check my tone. I've learned through my challenges, and I have a very strong voice. You know, organically. I was told in preschool that I sound like a man at like age 3. So I guess I was made for the role, but just controlling, my voice, my tone, my body language, how I go about things. The key way that I've changed it is I changed the command from commands to asking,
Hmm.
opening the question, right? So instead of saying in a boss manner, egotistical manner, I need you to do this, right? It's more of a collaborative team effort, and I think that's organically in a female nature. I think that we, in a feminine nature, we tend to bring people in and have that team orientation, right? And it's more so, how can we get this done in the most efficient manner, right? And if I'm asking for goals, is what do you think is possible? Do you think we can get it done in 2 days instead of 3? How can we make that happen? Versus I need this done in 3 days or else, or I need this done in 3 days, and I walk off, right? So I think allowing the space to collaborate is a feminine approach, and it's feminine leadership. And I think that I've gotten a better response from my guys. So if I need something done, or I need to reprimand somebody, or somebody's not doing something right, it's very key that my strategy is to first ask them, hey, what do you think went wrong here? To see if they have an understanding. Then, second, paint the big picture. Hey, this is what we're trying to get to, right? And then, third, I think in this industry is putting them in the client's shoes. So, showing them empathy for the client, right? So, how would you feel if this is how they treated your project? If this was your house, how would you feel by seeing this? And then, if they don't see it, then comes the teaching, right? Let me walk you through what I see. And then going back through that question process, now do you see what I'm talking about? How can we resolve this? So I've learned that those methods are more effective than, me coming in with strong authority, shoulders back, head up, this is what I want, and demanding the room. You don't have to do that. There's different forms of power and leadership.
Hmm. Yeah, and that goes to my next question. I was going to ask you, how do you make sure that people feel valued and respected? And I love that approach because it really is that collaborative effort that's needed, and understanding what the end client is expecting, what has been promised, and then, like you
Hmm.
said, putting them in the client's shoes and making sure they understand it from that perspective. It's so important. I love that. And I love that you are able to still have a softness to the way that you deliver feedback and information. Is really important. Do you think so? I have a son and I have two brothers. And I know you have a brother who works with you. Have
Hmm.
you learned, like, even growing up, have you learned how to interact with men, and been able to maybe quickly assess how things have landed, with your brother growing up, and has that had any impact on the way that you lead because of your a beautiful relationship with your brother?
That is an interesting and exciting question. Thank you. Wow. I've never thought about it like that. But now that you say that, yeah, me and my brother, he does work with me. It's a family business. It's a very interesting relationship. My brother's a different breed of man, though. We have never, ever, and this is hard to say, but we have never gotten into an argument. We have never
Wow.
had a disagreement. And, he's been in my life my whole life. And I just actually acknowledged that last year. And I think it is a relationship, like you said, the respect factor of him understanding, I'm not going to take this personal. This is not to me. This is to the business, or this is not for me. This is just how she's feeling. Right. So he has a very, I would say actually, feminine characteristics are not bad, but he has like empathy for the situation. So he never takes my tone, or if I have an attitude personal. He always kind of understands she must be going through a lot. This must be a burden. So that helps in that regard. I think more so how I've been sculpted to, like you said, this element of softness is trials and tribulations, throwing myself in the fire, dealing with these men with macho attitudes, right? So my brother is well reserved, easy going. I would say the lessons I've learned from him is catering to different styles. So you have the macho man, and then you have the alpha man that doesn't need to be, dominant in the space, and making sure that he feels empowered. So I think, kind of paving the way, or paving the space for him to operate in his own, ownership status, right? So procurement management, allow him to own that. What do you think is best? I implement his ideas. I also made him, over executive over the apparel company that we have coming out. And I just see, like, if I just be quiet and allow the space, he proceeds. So I think if I was to take anything from my brother sister relationship, it is understanding that I don't have to take up every minute of space of talking or directing. I can allow space for the area to breathe, and men to step up, right? Men to take leadership, men to take ownership, because not every man is going to say, hey, move out the way, I got this, right? But if I'm quiet for a little bit and I just say, hey, like, this is feminine, right? I want to get here. How can I do that? I'm essentially saying, lead me, right? So then there's this other tone of leadership where it's not, I don't have to tell you what to do to lead, but I'm navigating or guiding or allowing the space, right? Or creating the space for you to narrate how we get there. So I think that that's the key element I've taken from my brother is just be quiet, say what you need to, do, and less is more. So that was a great question, actually.
Thank you. It came from my own experience just being a single mom and seeing when I have hit a nerve with my son and reflecting on that and even having a conversation with him about how could I have done that differently and
Yes.
what would have made you respond in a different way. And just having that open dialogue or just like I said, just sitting back and reflecting like, maybe my tone was off. Maybe that's why
Yeah.
he reacted the way that he did, and it has also helped in other relationships at work with men. And so that's where that question came from
Ah,
because we
very
learn from
nice.
the men in our lives if we're paying attention, right? Hey, sis. Hey, I just wanted to take a moment to ask you, have you subscribed to The Bright Side of 50 with Carla Palmer? If you have not, could you please take a moment, if you like the podcast, take a moment now to hit the subscribe button so that you become a subscriber. Turn on your notifications so that you're notified when a new episode drops, okay? Also, follow me on Instagram. I am The Bright Side of 50 over there on Instagram too. Thank you so much. Now I'll let you get back to the episode. The other question I have for you is do you get like skepticism from men, and not necessarily on your team, but maybe subcontractors or maybe people you're building a relationship with in order to work on a special project? Are people skeptical? Do you sense any skepticism when it comes to that?
Yes, and the common time that I find that I do face skepticism is actually when I don't know my stuff. So if I don't know what's in the plans or the scope of work, they tend to, be skeptical and like, okay, does she really know what she's talking about? And like you said, with the element of subcontractors, it comes with, can I get this past her? Can I, it might be something like, oh, that was a scope gap. And a scope gap is something where it's like, you're responsible because we didn't really clarify it in the contract, right? But if I know the plans, if I know, the project, if I have the experience, I find that the skepticism is eliminated. If they come with that, it's eliminated right away. Like if, depending on how I respond. And sometimes I allow them to hang themselves. I'm silent and I just look and then I respond with, facts from the plans only. I keep it strictly to the project and I realize that they're no longer skeptical and I don't have, the dumb questions or the sly, can I get this past her? So I take accountability when I don't know my stuff. Yeah, and I deserve it. I can't sell my way out of everything. So I try to do my homework.
Yeah, and this goes across the board, not just in the construction industry,
Yes.
not just with male female relationships. This comes with anybody in leadership, right? Knowing your stuff when you're going to present, when you are, trying to make a deal, anything about you being in the forefront and like presenting information, you should know your stuff. And if
Know
you
your
don't,
industry,
then
yes.
yeah, that's when condescension comes in. That's when the skepticism happens. That's when people start to doubt, like, does she really belong in this role? Does she really deserve this project? Right. And you and I were talking about something similar to this before we did this podcast. And people you know blaming other people for certain things happening in certain situations, and it all comes down to sometimes your tone, your delivery, your preparation and knowledge, and being not putting so much emotion into things, right? And so if we start to think about all of those elements when we are the face of a company or the leader of a company, I think we would have such not easier necessarily, but a better experience all around. So I'm glad that you said that about being prepared, because we all need to be prepared in everything that we do, and it will also lessen the imposter syndrome, because I experience syndrome sometimes. I'm sure you have, right? Especially in the field that you're in. So I'm really glad that you said that about preparation, because that is often the key.
That is the key. And like you said, touching back on our conversation that we had, that also goes with strategies, right? So it's not only controlling the tones, but I think one thing that I've also adopted is coming in a relaxed energy, right? So trying to really practice not bringing my stress to the job, relaxing my vibes, right? No matter what is going on outside of there, the guys don't deserve it. And I think that was one key lesson I learned about 2 years ago. I lost one of my best guys. I had a personal situation and I didn't separate the personal from the business. I got out of the car and just went off on him. And it was like the work was already done perfect. I took full accountability for my tone. And something beautiful came from that too. One, that was where I learned tone is important, but also body language, facial expressions, right? Relaxed shoulders. It's the simple, subtle things, right? And then in my industry, learning Spanish, it was a language barrier case. I immediately started taking Spanish classes. I said, never again. So I think it's key to take accountability for your actions. I think it's key to really kind of dissect, like you said earlier in the podcast, sit back and reflect. What did I do to make him respond like that, right? And I think one of the key elements as a leader is you see how to get to the end. How do I get to the end result? How do I want this person to feel? How do I want them to perform? What's the best way to navigate through that? And sometimes it's getting outside of ourselves, not necessarily reacting the way that we want to. And I think that's what makes us strong as women. If you compare the woman to the men in the construction industry, usually the one word that divides us is ego. We don't really have that ego. I don't have to puff out my chest and be macho and say I could do this better than you. I could puff down my chest and say what's the best way to get this done. So I really think that's the key essence to feminine leadership is, hey, take the lead. Whatever it needs to get the job done, the key is we're here for the company. This is a team effort. How do we get there? If I need to control my tone, check myself. If we need to have and communication is key. This is what a lot of people don't talk about. I have talks with my guys and I open the space for them to say, I said, was that a little too much? And they say yes. And I say, how could I have done that better? And they tell me. They say, yeah, your tone was this, and when you said this, and then you didn't let me get a word in. You just went, and this is a conversation. You didn't allow me to interject. And I said, okay, so now I need to pause, or now I need to read the room, right? I need to understand that I might not be getting, something across. So there's so many tools of just being. Feminine essence is being, male essence is doing, right? It just so happens that leadership is being, the field work is doing. So it's just a normal organic flow. And that's why I think feminine leadership is essential, because we offer that space for you to say, okay, I'm listening to you. I understand you. Okay, I will make that change, right? And that's how we get back to the man feeling respected. And that goes across all boards. That could be in relationships, that could be in business partnerships, that could be in, parenting, everything. Everybody wants to feel seen and heard. And I think that women leaderships, in feminine leadership, we have the capability to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, parenting for sure. My son came home from work when he was living with me. He came home from work one day and he hadn't taken out the trash. And soon as he hit the door, I went off. And when I tell you went off, tone was elevated. It was a mess. And he just looked at me and he said, I don't need to hear that as soon as I get home. I just worked a long day. I'm going to take out the trash. He goes, but that's not working for me. And it
It's
wasn't in a
not.
disrespectful way. It was just like, this is enough. Enough is enough. This ain't the first time you've talked to me this way. If you want me to do it,
Boundaries.
that's fine. But let's have a conversation. Like, why are you yelling? Why are you yelling? And I didn't get offended. I said, you know what? Got it. And I was still mad, but God, I had to go reflect. Like, this man is 20, he's probably 22 at the time. Why are you speaking to him like that? Is that necessary? He's not a
Where
child.
where does that come from, Carla? Like, where does that and that's where we self-correct, because we learned that somewhere, and it's too common. right? And that, I think, is the biggest thing for you to say, hold on, like, he's not coming at you in a certain way. It's more so like, check yourself.
Yeah.
The goal is the trash. Do I have to keep talking? Right? Do I really have to keep going? And it's like when and I think, like you said, the key to communication. So you talk about the male and female dynamic. You respected him by pausing, not continuing to go, and then reverting that and not doing it again. So I think that's the accountability piece, right? It's like taking responsibility for our actions, but correcting that so that at the end goal, we're respecting each other. I won't talk to you like that anymore. And you took accountability for knowing that you didn't take out the trash. That is the dynamic I'm talking about that I experienced by just communication and tone.
Hmm. Yeah. Whew. Okay, so I have like a couple more questions. You are a beautiful woman. You know, you're gorgeous. You're fit. You athletic. Like, okay, Let's ask the question. I'm sure everybody wonders. I know you get hollered at, girl. I know people. I know they be trying to holler. I know subcontractors probably be trying to holler. You probably had some, some teammates that been. I mean, some of your staff maybe in the past tried to, like. How do you set the boundary? Like, let's just be clear. I know. I know it comes up.
That's a funny question. All right, let's get into it. No, I'm just
Let's get
kidding.
into it.
But thank you for the compliments.
Of course.
One simple, fun way with my clients that I know I'm introducing, and they may have given off that they're not married, is a simple trick that women know. I know a few women that still do this. I'm sorry, it's old school. What we used to do in the early 2000s. You see this right here? We're gonna
Uh-huh.
switch this. Now we go to work.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So this eliminates a lot of the questions and all. Okay, you can see, right? But if I don't do that,
Let's
if
say you
it,
don't do that, or let's say they ask you
yeah,
directly, "Are you married?"
yeah, yeah. So if they say that, when I've been asked, are you dating, things like that, I redirect it and I just say, we need to just talk about what we have going on here, or I don't feel like that's important right now, so it's kind of like directing. But to be honest, um, it's never that direct. It's never, are you married? It's more so they'll do slick comments or they'll do slick gestures. And I think when I don't engage, or I set the tone of just like continuing to talk about business. Now, this is a different tone and a different posture, like I'm kind of like standing, kind of authoritatively, right? And I'm kind of like, my facial expression is not giving into that. And then if it's too way out there, I'll say that wasn't appropriate.
Mm.
I have said that too. Like that's not really, appropriate for the situation. And I've also communicated that's not really your business. So I think that's the thing. It's an honor though. I'm not like, completely like, oh, don't you dare, approach me. I think it's more so like gratitude, right? It's like, oh, thank you. This is actually a more common question. Why are you single?
Oh yeah.
That is more than why are you not married? And that one is like, okay, it's like, I'm just focused on my business right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, but listen though, I mean, you are single, and these dating streets are not easy.
They
I
are
know
not.
look, but we gotta be real about this. These dating streets are not easy. Finding intellectual chemistry or like-minded people, especially for somebody in doing what you're doing. I'm sure you come across men who are attractive, who are single, who are maybe in your dating age range. Like, how do you do that? Like, that must be challenging too, because we are human, and as women in our 40s and 50s, like, as single women, we have desires. So what happens when you see this highly intelligent, sexy man who's doing his business in the same industry as you, but you're doing business together and you might be attracted to him? You might think to yourself, this could be potentially a good partner for me. Like, what happens there?
Flirting.
Okay.
Like I said, lady first, builder second. So
Okay.
yes, I'm flirting. But I think you bring up a good point, and I've had talks with my mentors who have done this for 30 years. They're 60, 70, right? And the commonalities are crazy, because I think people underestimate, woman or man, in the construction industry, you get hit with punches every day, right? And I think the stamina that I've been building is, how do I still go out with a smile on my face? How do I, overcome my adversities, right? How do I overcome and just find solutions and move past it? And it takes time. It takes time. And I think one of my number one challenges is not necessarily, well, yeah, one of the challenges is actually getting the man you just described. So running his business just like me and understand that is very uncommon, just to say. So the entrepreneurial mindset and understanding of the entrepreneurial mindset is very uncommon in my experience. And I think what grace that gives when a man understands an entrepreneurial woman or an entrepreneurial, vibe is, if you really, and I love my company, right? And you really have passion for this, is understanding that it may be late nights. It may be nights I can't cook dinner. It may be nights that I forgot to pick the coat up off the floor. Let's just be honest. But when a man is able to come in and see the vision and understand, right? And say, like, dang, she's been going 110% every single day, give me some grace, or see the beauty in that. Like, she really loves what she does. How can I help? Or, I'm going to give her space to do what she needs to do. And then, or I'm going to lead the relationship. And at 6 o'clock, I'm going to say, okay, babe, cut it off. Take my hand. I'm taking you to dinner. Those are the things that are challenging, because I think, and like I said, in talking to my mentors, a lot of them have experienced the men can't take it. The men can't take the lack of time. The men can't take the lack of investment. The men are emotionally not sufficient enough, or not, how can I say, they don't speak up enough about what their needs are, where the balance is, right? Because we talk about this 50-50 balance between life and work, but it's like, well, what do you really need? Like, I know what you would like, but what do you really need? And then, of course, me as a woman, I'm going to say, okay, you want an absolute cutoff at 5 p.m. so I could have devoted attention. But then on some nights, it's like, babe, it's raining at 8 p.m. I'm sorry, I have to go cover a roof. Like, that I left open and the weather report didn't show it. And getting through that, and I think just having that true partnership and understanding, like, yes, we're in a relationship, but yes, we both have our visions for our life and we come together and support each other is essential, and it's very uncommon. So I think the challenge more so is not just, flirting and getting past that first step. It's when you're in it, how do you balance the punches that you take and then still being there and being fully present for your man, And that's what I work through every day.
Yeah. It's a risk to date a business partner or to date, and not anybody in your industry, but like if
I
somebody.
think it's more of a risk to date a 9 to 5 person. I just learned this. I think it's more of a risk to date a 9 to 5 person than a business owner. A
Because of all the things
business
you just said.
Yes, a business owner will understand the grit and be like, babe, like, let's go, let's like, do you need help? Like, what do you need? Let's go get it, right? Whereas a 9 to 5 would be like, come to bed, or rely on me, or I wish you would just like leave that business and just let me take care of you. And that's a different type of love. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think entrepreneur to entrepreneur, whatever they're going for, it doesn't even have to be in this industry. They really come with the limitless attitude of, like, and understanding the challenges are growth obstacles that we have to push through to get to the next level. Babe, how can I support you through this? Sometimes you just got to feel it. Babe, cry. Babe, get it out. Babe, let's go box. Let's go run. Let's get it out so that you can get to the next level, because you know what's on the other side. So having that mindset to understand that's a true teammate, I think. And I think that's been my number one challenge the majority of my life. I've dated 9 to 5s with that limit of, hey, it's 5 o'clock, you're off the clock, or why are you still dreaming and visualizing if I, come up with the idea in the shower and I go, oh, I could do this, or oh, I could do that. I think the entrepreneur would be like, or you could do this. And then the 9 to 5er is like, can you please stop and put that to bed? So that's the challenge. That's the biggest challenge.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You said a lot about growth in that last statement, and my last question for you is about growth, the growth of your company, and the future plans of Bridgeline. I know you've done some international travel, and you're building relationships in a couple of African countries. What can you share about the future of your company?
Well, when I started this company, I decided to be the world's best vertical builder. I know that's a big challenge, but that's where we're growing towards. And I also wanted to, like you said, expand globally. And so we're entertaining some infrastructure and development opportunities in Africa. So the future is definitely on a global scale. Here in LA, the future of the company that we're growing to is we really want to be the best mixed use developers and hotel developers here and also in Africa. I'll say that too. My dream getting into this was I wanted to develop hotels in Africa. So in 2011, I started seeing the trend of tourism in Africa, and I said I want to be a part of that. And that's you know where I started to build my vision. But I think the future for Bridgeline is not only to be the best vertical builder, but also to be one of the largest construction companies in the world, and really be seen, and really exude that feminine leadership can excel and can progress. And I really think that you know the way that we're setting our core environment right now, I think we're on a good trajectory.
I'm so proud of you, girl. Maybe one day I'll run your corporate social responsibility arm, and we can give
Oh, we
back to the
have a
communities.
nonprofit organization coming up that you might be over. You might be over. It will be
Yes.
announced soon.
So amazing. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time. I know you've got some business to handle this afternoon, but I just want to say thank you for coming on. This was great, and I hope to have you back because we've got some other things that we need to discuss. So thank you, Erica.
Yes. Thank you, Carla. This has been great too. And I think we have really good conversations around the topic of feminine leadership. And I don't think it needs to stop here. So thank you for allowing me this platform to kind of expose that. Like, we could do this too. And it doesn't have to be the same way they do it.
Absolutely, absolutely, we can do this too. All
And
right.
that's
So
the
how do
beauty
people
of
stay
it.
connected
Thank
with
you.
you? We want to make sure they know.
Oh, awesome. Yes. So personal Instagram is at the lady.builder. Business page is at Bridgeline DV, as in Bridgeline Development. And then our website is www.theladybuilder.com.
All right. And I will put all of her information in the show notes so that you guys can just click and follow and get more information on the company. And if you want to stay connected with me, Carla, you can find me at the Bright Side of 50 on Instagram. I am GYSB Movement and the Bright Side of 50 on YouTube and GYSB Movement on TikTok. I'm sorry for the confusion, but GYSB Movement is my health and fitness movement, and that's what I'm known for most on TikTok. So follow me over there for health and fitness and everywhere else for the bright side of 50 and how we're going to continue to elevate and lift each other up here on the bright side of 50 because we've got lots and lots of life to live and we want to live it to the fullest. Erica, again, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
All
Take
right. I'll
care.
talk to you soon.
Alrighty.
Take care. Ah, take care.
That was cute.
I know, right?